Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Hanging on the Moon. We are here to talk professional wrestling with you once again. I am James Forbath. He doesn't need an intro because he has his own little fancy name key, but I'll do it anyway. From Chicago, Illinois, he is my partner, Joshua Lopez. Joshua, how are you down in Chicago?
I'm good, man. Kevin Steen calls himself a Sue enthusiast. I'm a CM Punk All-State Arena enthusiast.
All right. Have you seen CM Punk around? Is he doing okay?
I actually seen him by my uncle's tattoo shop a couple months ago, so yeah, he's doing
Wow,
fine.
okay. So he's getting new tattoos. Where is he going to fit them? That's not part of the show today.
Yeah, we'll leave that out.
Anyway, actually, today's show is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to be as WWE heavy as we normally are, because quite frankly, it wasn't that big a week WWE-wise. Plus, we got the podcast coming up with Chris Walder. Normally, we have everything all nailed down, and I can tell you if we're going to have a guest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know yet. We have maybe a guest tomorrow. Tune in and find out Friday night if we have a guest, or if it's just me and Walder talking about wrestling. One way or the other, there will be a podcast. That is all I can promise at this point.
And a Macho Man impression.
Yes, usually we do Randy Savage, although I do not do it with the interviewed guests, although I do have a challenge that's out there to Jay Lethal to come on board and take the Macho Man Challenge. Everyone's doing the Ice Bucket Challenge. I have the Macho Man Challenge. I have challenged one man. It is Jay Lethal. He has still not stepped up to the plate. But, that being said, we are going to talk a lot of ROH today. Jay Lethal stepping up to the plate in ROH really nicely. I was kind of getting caught up on my Ring of Honor today, and I watched his match with Matt Taven at Field of Honor. I honestly thought it was the best match on the show. They had the steel cage match for the television title. Matt Taven and Jay Lethal knocked it out of the park. I thought it was tremendous. Matt Taven right off the bat dove out of the steel cage through the door, attacked Jay Lethal. Silesia got involved. Silesia Sparks, who's been a guest on our podcast. I love that girl. She took like 2 crazy bumps in that match. And unfortunately for Matt Taven, who was our only 2-time guest on the podcast, he did not win and was very sour about it. I'm wondering if Matt Taven in ROH is going to go back to his heelish ways.
Oh, the heel. Everybody got to be a heel today.
I don't know. he didn't seem happy, and he seemed very upset.
I don't blame him, man. He's been trying to get his title back, and he gets constantly screwed over. I mean, I can't blame him.
Yeah, he got screwed over again in this match. Like, Truth Martini slammed the door, the cage on him, and Jay Lethal finished it off, and yeah, it wasn't good for him. And maybe if Matt Taven had Todd Sinclair as the referee, that wouldn't have happened. Because Todd Sinclair, in another great Jay Lethal match, and this one people can check out. I think it's up on ROH's site for free now. You can check out the Jay Lethal ACH match, which I had heard the buzz about this match, and I had to go see it. And it lives up to the hype. It was a great match, and in that match, why I say Matt Taven should have had Todd Sinclair as the referee. Todd, he kicked out Silesia for throwing ACH into the post, and then he kicked out Truth Martini for getting involved. Todd Sinclair not taking any bull from anyone.
Yeah, he's pulling Earl Hebner.
Well, no, I like Todd Sinclair. Todd Sinclair, to me, right now has the ref bump of the year. I mean, going back to that match on the pay-per-view Best in the World, that super kick he took from Adam Cole, that was a first-rate bump for a wrestler. Forget about a referee. Todd Sinclair's got all the respect in the world for me for that.
Yeah, at least he's not screaming at the guy and girl like Charles Robinson does all the time. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Little Nate. Oh, little Nate. At least he's got a job, right?
Yeah.
And actually, when we get to WWE talk, we have, speaking of Big Nate, there's some rumors going around of what Big Nate will be up to. We'll get to those when we talk WWE. But as far as ROH goes, it's interesting because now they're in that post-Kevin Steen era.
Yep.
And I felt when I was watching Field of Honor, I missed Kevin. Like, it wasn't, I don't know what it was. I didn't think it was a bad show, and they drew. I mean, we joked about it, myself and Chris Walder. Field of Honor had more than 67 people at the baseball stadium. They did all right attendance-wise. It was no TNA show in that regard. But, the matches, they were fine, but I really wasn't blown away other than the opener. I thought the opener with Jay Lethal and Matt Taven was great. Even the four-way with Adam Cole, Jay Briscoe, Michael Elgin, and who am I missing? Oh, AJ Styles. It was good. I didn't think it was great.
Before anything, I just gotta say it's pretty cool that they had the whole presentation with the baseball field. They didn't have like any particular issues with it beforehand.
I did like some of the stuff around how they did this show. Like, I liked how in between the matches they'd show the various wrestlers playing baseball when they were setting up the stadium. I thought that was pretty cool. And Michael Elgin, my God, he got into one and hit a monster home run. And that's a AAA ballpark. That's not, like, the average man is not able to do that very easily. Michael Elgin crushed it.
Hey, man, you pulled a Mr. Perfect there, but Mr. Perfect wasn't a champion.
No, and Wade Boggs actually professes that Mr. Perfect actually had a great baseball swing. Wade Boggs was his buddy, so keep that in mind. But still, it is what it is. But no, I think Ring of Honor, it's interesting. I think they've done all right. They seem to be doing okay. Did you make it out to the Chicago show or no?
Yeah, I did actually. It was a lot of fun. It was a last-minute thing I did get to catch, and for my first time being there, man, it was awesome. I can't complain. I wish I could go there more. I wish they actually showed ROH on TV here in Chicago more, but it's a fun environment.
ROH, the live experience, and I recently had my first live ROH experience, and I'm going back September 6th, which we're going to get into in a little bit. But the crowds there are great. Like, I used to have a real, I don't know what the word is for it, trepidation kind of going to Ring of Honor shows because you always heard how smarky they were, and I'm not necessarily that fan when I go to watch matches. I mean, I'm just there to have a good time, and I wasn't sure if I'd fit in with that crowd. But you know what? I don't know what it's like in Chicago or other places, but in Toronto, it was great. It was like any other wrestling crowd I've been to. In fact, better than some wrestling crowds I've been to, and that's WWE shows, where sometimes the WWE environment can be very stale, especially on house shows. Not really a hyped environment. Where the ROH show, it was noisy and loud, like, through the whole thing. So the crowd, they get behind it.
Well, just speaking since I live here, it's kind of jaded from how the independent Chicago fans are from the actual WWE fans, because from indie shows, it's kind of like, oh, they try to reenact ECW crowds when it comes to Chicago shows and all. But besides that, I've been to house shows plenty of time for the WWE, and it's been like 50 WWE fans and 50 indie fans, and they're all really excited for it. I mean, there was a SmackDown house show last year that was packed.
There you go.
The day after Christmas.
Wow. Well, Chicago is like one of the huge markets for wrestling in general, and WWE in particular. It really does well. It's a good drawing place for Ring of Honor as well. Like, they always do that Death Before Dishonor weekend where they do the double shot. They do Milwaukee, which is great wrestling town too.
Yeah.
And then they come to Chicago, and you know, it's always good crowds in those venues. But I think Ring of Honor. I think Michael Elgin's a tremendous wrestler, and I think the world of him. But it's taking some time getting used to Michael Elgin as the Ring of Honor World Champion for me.
Yeah, it's something where you got to do growing pains. I mean, I've always been a big fan of Michael Elgin, and especially when you come in the era where some of your favorite stars like leave, and then there's a new influx of guys that are in that main top level. It's going to take some growing pains and readjusting to watching your style, but I think it's a good choice that he is a champion. It's just how he develops over these next major shows, which are coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I like his attitude. He wants to be the best Ring of Honor World Champion ever, and they're certainly giving him his fair share of title defenses, uh, racking them up. I mean, he's fought Silas Young, Tommaso Ciampa. I mean, they've just been throwing one after the other at him. Matt Hardy even got a shot at the ROH title, which was an interesting match. It'll be interesting to see when he comes kind of back home to Toronto how he's received there. Because
The Edge reception.
yeah, it should be interesting. Because
Edge 2004 SummerSlam reception.
I don't know, because like that's what Kevin Steen gets there, and I'm not joking. Like
Get booed?
when Kevin came out, like at the show in May, it was off the wall bananas. There was not a person in that place that was cheering for Adam Cole. And I love Adam Cole. I wasn't even cheering for Adam Cole because it was just a Canadian love fest. And I don't know if Michael Elgin is embraced like that. At least he hasn't been in the past. But then you always had Kevin Steen. So it'll be interesting to see. He's on the top of that card fighting Jay Briscoe for the title. Should be a great match. Although I'm much more interested in the other match that's underneath it with Adam Cole and AJ Styles. The first time ever. I think that's going to be one heck of a match.
Yeah, that match should be right up there with the matches of the year for Pro Wrestling Illustrated this year. Um, I think Michael Elgin with the whole crowd thing, I kind of think he's a new Chicago kind of guy because he lives in the suburbs in Chicago now.
Yeah,
So
well,
I don't,
he doesn't live in Toronto anymore, I don't think.
no,
I think he lives down in the States, right?
yeah, he's in the suburbs of Chicago and he does his own wrestling school for ROH, right? In St. Louis, somewhere around there.
Yeah. But anyway, that said, as much as I think Cole and Styles will be a great match,
Yeah.
I think the match of the night for All Star Extravaganza was the first match they announced. Red Dragon versus the Young Bucks. 2 out of 3 falls. Take my money. That was basically it.
Do it now. Do it.
Yeah, like when I saw that, I'm like, that is going to be fantastic. And I mean, the last time the Young Bucks were in Toronto wrestling for ROH, they were in a match that was just mind blowing at the no, not War of the Worlds. We were Global Wars. War of the Worlds was New York City. But just a mind blowing match and stole the show, quite frankly. Even though Adam Cole and Kevin Steen had a hell of a match on that card too, but the Young Bucks, they steal the show. They do it everywhere they go, and no matter who they're paired with. And Red Dragon, in their own right, I think they're riding a high. They just came back from Japan, as did Michael Bennett and Adam Cole, and they didn't get the win in Japan. Red Dragon, Cole and Bennett did. But I think the fact that they're getting to go and be a part of New Japan obviously speaks to the level of all 4 of those guys, really. And it'll be interesting. It'll be a great match. There's no 2 ways around it.
I think it's going to be a great match. I'm really looking forward to it. I think this match will actually outdo the Usos and Wyatt's Money in the Bank match. But I think the whole thing when we were talking about the Young Bucks going to NXT, I think there's a difference in contrast because the times I've seen the Young Bucks on the computer or on pay-per-view, it's been kind of like the same wrestling style, but with that crowd in ROH, they'll cheer for any suicide dive or super kick, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's all cool with the super kick party, and then the NXT crowd probably lash onto that. But if they got on to Raw or SmackDown, I don't know if that would contrast well with them.
Well, Shawn Michaels might have something to say about a super kick party.
Oh yeah, Sean, yeah.
What the heck are these two guys doing my super kick? Although Dolph Ziggler does it now, so why not?
Dolph
Why?
Ziggler, who?
Dolph Ziggler. Yeah, I'm getting way too bright. We're going to try and change that, so just hang on a second. People, there, will lighten the mood. Because remember last week I kind of faded away.
Yeah, you're
I
like.
was worried, so we had the lighting up. But we didn't need it, at least not yet. But anywho, yeah, that card, we haven't even got through all the matches. ACH and Jay Lethal, the rematch is happening in Toronto. 30-minute draw. Like I said, go check it out. Anyone who thinks a draw doesn't work in 2014, I give you that match because it was tremendous.
Hey man, you're a lucky man.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great card. Like and way down on the card, we still have matches with the former TNA Bad Influence taking on the Decade. That should be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cedric Alexander is going to be in action. I think he's facing Silas Young. So that should be a great match too. I mean, ROH, their roster is really filled out, and you know, Michael Bennett's going to be there too. I think he's facing Rocky Romero.
Hey, what happened to Chris Hero now? Is he a part-timer there?
Well, he's always kind of been part-time. He's not under contract with Ring of Honor. So I don't know what's going on with that. He came back, and we haven't seen him in a while in ROH. So I don't know what the deal is there.
Yeah,
but
he's grown a little bit.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, he's got a little bigger since he's went to Japan. That's all I'm saying.
What are you trying to say, Josh?
Nah, nothing. Forget it.
That he's getting Kevin Steen-like? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, more like Trevor Murdoch.
Okay. Well, that's not a good visual. Anyway, one of the other places where they love the Young Bucks, and will make the transition here, is at PWG, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. And if you're a huge wrestling fan, you already know what Pro Wrestling Guerrilla is. But if you happen to not be that invested, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla is perhaps like the best independent show going today. Like, it really is fascinating what Pro Wrestling Guerrilla puts out there on a... What is it they run? Every 6 weeks or something like that? I watched their last not pay-per-view, but their last show from Reseda. What a wild card that was. It was just fantastic. We saw the end of Kevin Steen in PWG, and he is part of Mount Rushmore there, which is a group with himself, the Young Bucks, and Adam Cole. And they did an homage to the Shawn Michaels Ric Flair match, where Steen had come out to check on the Young Bucks after they lost their titles to Candice LeRae and Joey Ryan, which we'll get into in a minute. But Steen had come out to check on the Bucks, as did Adam Cole. And the three got together, the Young Bucks and Adam Cole, and said, "Kevin, we love you." And then they super kicked him. Like, "We're sorry, we love you." The super kick, just like Shawn Michaels. I popped huge.
They didn't call him Old Yeller, right?
No, they didn't call him Old Yeller. I don't think they did that. But obviously Kevin has moved on to WWE Developmental, although the people at PWG think he is going with El Generico to look after the orphans. And my oh my, the things Kevin Steen said about those orphans on commentary on the last PWG show, There's some crazy orphans, let me just
Hey,
tell you. That's all I'm going to say about that. But the reason we bring up PWG is their biggest card of the year. It's basically PWG's version of WrestleMania. They call it the Battle of Los Angeles. It is, I don't think I'm overstating it, the biggest tournament in independent wrestling on a yearly basis, and it's usually fantastic. It's quite the show. It's expanded now to 3 nights. It used to be 2 nights in Reseda. They're doing 3 now, and it's craziness. Like it's a tournament. The winner of the tournament ends up getting a shot at the PWG champion, which, by the way, we mentioned Red Dragon earlier. Kyle O'Reilly, wrestling singles in PWG, is the PWG champion, and he took that title away just recently from Adam Cole.
yeah, man. I'm really looking forward to it. I've been looking over the card over here, and it's the Chris Hero against Matt Seidel, former Evan Bourne.
Yeah, well, apparently Chris Hero's not going to do well because he's fat, according to you.
Well, I didn't say he still can't work. That doesn't mean.
I'm just sticking it to you, Josh. That's all I'm doing.
I know.
Chris Hero's never coming on the Wrestling Experience, just so you know.
Hey, we'll see. You never know.
That's Josh's show on Wednesdays, by the way, on ChicagolandRadio.com. There, you got a free plug out of me. How about that?
Thank you.
So anyway, Battle of Los Angeles, it's always fun. They always bring in a ton of people. You mentioned Matt Seidel is going to be there. Also, Kurt Hawkins is going to be in the Battle of Los Angeles.
Brian Myers.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts. And, speaking of crazy and nuts, one last thing on their last show. That match with the Young Bucks and Joey Ryan and Candice LeRae was the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen. Candice LeRae is like the toughest under 100-pound girl in the world. She literally did huge color in that match with the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks had a Nike shoe with thumbtacks in the bottom of it and kicked her in the face.
Ow.
Who does that? I mean, I love the Young Bucks, but I can't even condone that.
Oh, man.
That's wrong. That's just not right, Young Bucks. I mean,
Fully never put thumbtacks on Mr. Sacco. I mean,
anyway, but if you have never seen PWG, a great introduction to it to get you started is the Battle of Los Angeles. Now, the shows will be going down this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then usually it takes them a couple months to turn them around, and then they'll pop up, and you can order the DVDs or watch them online. And PWG, it's just a great product. When we had Adam Cole on the podcast, we went in great depth about his time in PWG, and it seems everyone that's ever worked for that promotion loves that promotion.
yeah, I've never heard anything bad about PWG. The crowd's awesome. The whole environment is awesome. The commentary is good. I mean, PWG always puts on a good show. So
Yeah,
it's gonna
PWG
be no different.
PWG with the commentary, you get like the wrestlers when they're not wrestling. It's really kind of a mom and pops kind of thing. It's like you have wrestlers that wrestled matches earlier on commentary. They're going to be really lacking on commentary now, though, with Kevin Steen gone. Because Kevin used to do like half the matches with Excalibur, who's one of the owners of that promotion, along with Super Dragon.
He wears the Generico mask, too.
Yeah, along with Super Dragon and Joey Ryan, who own that promotion. And Excalibur once was beaten by Kevin Steen's child in a match. That happened at PWG.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
Kevin had his baby of all of 6 months in Excalibur for his first and only win in the ring to this point that I'm aware of. So good for Owen. He got the win. Anyway, it's great. If you want to check out PWG, I encourage you to do so. And Battle of Los Angeles is probably a good place to jump in and get the feel for the other thing about PWG. We can't end this conversation without talking about the fans, because they are, without a doubt, the craziest, wild fans ever at that show in Reseda. There's maybe like 400 or 500 of them packed in some Legion Hall, and they are tremendous.
Yeah, man, it's their WrestleMania. Like you said
Oh,
earlier.
but their WrestleMania is every time they put on a show. Like when it comes to the crowd, they're just
It's
into
not a
it.
Rumble. It's not SummerSlam. It's just Mania to them all the time.
No, it's like those people. Where was Raw this week?
Anaheim.
Those people in Anaheim, they suck. They're not going to
Yeah.
PWG shows because they just sat on their hands most of the night. Whereas PWG fans, no, they come out to they come out for two reasons. They come out to drink, and they come out to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to do that no matter what happens in the ring. That's a given. So anyway, so that was it for ROH and PWG. They took up like half the show, but I think well deserved with what's going on with both of those companies. Josh, I have nothing to say about TNA, as I do not every week. So do you have anything you'd like to share with us about the folks at Impact Wrestling? I know now Velvet Sky is no longer employed by the company as well. Has anyone else been fired?
From what I know right now, not recently, but I find it funny because I was covering the show last night, and there was a lot of good matches on the show. I think we all could be in agreement that they put on good matches. Whether the storylines are good or not, it's up to you. But they bring in Christian Melendez, who's the Wounded Warrior guy.
Yeah, they were really hyping that up. They were trying to get the real feel-good story out of that.
I just found it weird that Team 3D was going to be your Hall of Fame inductees this year in Japan. Bully Ray's not going to be there, and them two of the guys that traded Christian to be in the wrestling business. And then you had Kurt Angle, who's the third guy that'll probably be gone by Bound for Glory. And then you got Mr. Anderson, just like toting this guy like the biggest thing since sliced bread.
Well, Kurt Angle. It's funny though, because Kurt Angle had his episode with the WWE that did not go so well for him, and then I noticed now he's on Twitter hyping up TNA. He's like, oh, it was a great show Wednesday night, blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, okay, Kurt Angle, we all know that you didn't get your WWE deal. Sorry it didn't work out for you. Now you love TNA again, do you? That's great.
I don't know. I kind of think it's when it reminded me when Jericho came back with the whole "it's the end of the world" thing, where he's like, "No, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back. I'm doing the Fozzy. I'm doing the Fozzy stuff." And I'm like, okay, do what you want to do. Kurt will be back.
He's not coming back, Josh. They don't want him. Vince doesn't want him. Triple H doesn't want him. There's a lot of things apparently Triple H and Vince don't agree on. But this is one that they do. They both don't want Kurt Angle.
I don't know. Honestly, to me, I think it'll actually happen sooner than people think.
I don't know. I just don't see it. We talked about this actually on the podcast with Chris Walder. Vince McMahon had that famous line. He said, "I'm not having an Olympian die on my watch," and I think he's dead serious about it. And I don't think he trusts Kurt to keep himself on the straight and narrow, and that's the biggest problem.
Yeah, he has to abide by the drug policy thing they got over there.
And could he even pass the medical at this point? Like, that's a legitimate question.
Plus, they worry about they worry about the concussion stuff too. I mean, look how they're handling the whole thing with Daniel Bryan now. It's like taking it slowly, and it's more months and more months passing by, and there's still no clear estimation of when this guy coming back to wrestle.
Although he hasn't had that second surgery, so some people are holding out hope because he hasn't had it yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that they're holding out hope. And we might as well get into WWE with this. A lot of news this week. John Cena is not looking so healthy right now. And I had wrote about this on Condo on the Moon, talking about the state of the WWE. John Cena, from his own lips, said he has a shoulder issue. We know that's fact because he said that in that same video when he talked about he would never be a heel. He also said that he'd been battling shoulder issues. So we do know that's true. But there's also even rumors now that he might have neck problems as well, and it's not looking good for him. And my question is, if they knew all this, why in the heck are we seeing him fight Brock Lesnar not once but twice? Brock could kill him. Like, not literally, although maybe, but I mean, if you got a bad shoulder or worse, a bad neck, the last person in the world you want to be wrestling is Brock Lesnar.
One answer. Roman Reigns. That's the only reason why. I mean, John's been dealing with these neck issues. I mean, he's been out of the ring like every fall season over the last 3 or 4 years with these injuries he's been dealing with. The guy's going to be scaling down soon. It's their time for them to push Roman Reigns up to the farthest planet you can see out there.
Oh, I know, but he's not ready yet, and that's the problem. I mean,
but
I
he's
guess
not ready. But Triple H is like, oh, let's get him in as the face of the company instead of Cena.
And that's one of the battles going on right now. We talked about Vince and Hunter not seeing eye to eye on certain things. That's one of the major ones. Vince is not as convinced as Hunter that Roman Reigns is ready for this big push.
You know, I watch the interviews with Michael Cole and Triple H each week, and by the way he expresses his thoughts on the whole John Cena thing, I kind of have a feeling that he's done with the whole John Cena experiment in the WWE.
Yeah,
like, he puts himself in these situations, this kind of stuff. That's the vibe I get from Triple H.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's like, I'm wondering if John's done too, though. Like,
yeah,
he doesn't seem as engaged or invested either. Like,
you don't think he's gonna pull like a Hogan thing, right? Like he's wrestling till he's like 60.
No, I don't see John. I don't see John Cena doing that. Like, John Cena, for whatever people want to think about him, he's been pretty smart in the fact that he's been able to stay on top of this company for 12 years, and in doing so, made a ton of money.
Yeah.
If you have any doubt of the amount of money John Cena has made, I refer you to Total Divas and the episode where they were at his house. My God Almighty! And then he gets in a fight with Nikki Bella, and what is his gift to Nikki Bella? He buys her a condo, and he bought her a car. Like,
you know what's funny though? It's like the dude was set for life before WWE went back to PG.
Two things I learned about John Cena through Total Divas. One, he has a significant amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Two, he significantly does not want to get married. Like, he bought her a car and a condominium. Like those are some pretty nice, sorry, I'm not buying you a ring gifts.
Hey man, I wonder why she's so bitter now.
I don't know. And why has John Cena not gotten involved in all of this, Josh? Like, doesn't he care that his girlfriend is ready to kill her sister? I mean, my gosh. We might as well get into that, seeing as we've made the transition, kind of.
Uh-huh.
Nikki Bella, I can't believe I'm saying this. Nikki Bella was one of the highlights of Raw for me this week. I thought she was tremendous. I thought she did a great job. I thought she really knocked it out of the park. And aside from Brock Lesnar's promo, which was taped, I thought it was the second best thing on the show in terms of what we saw on the microphone. I really did.
I kind of like the Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins thing. I think that's something that could work with Dean being out of the picture with the whole movies for the next couple of weeks. I agree with you. There wasn't really much I took away personally from Raw. I thought it was just one of those shows that were there. Like, I kind of like the stuff that was in the ring, but man, that freaking Anaheim crowd sucked. And then when you have a bad crowd, you have bad in-ring segments, and you have a terrible announce team, you're gonna get shows like this. So it was just one of those shows that were there that I could have did without. But I agree with you with the whole Nikki Bella thing. I thought she showed a great amount of aggression, even though her sister has the worst acting chops I've ever seen in my life. Uh,
Oh, she's terrible. Bree's
yeah,
awful.
yeah, but it was just one of those shows. It was incomplete, and it wasn't that good this week.
Here's the thing: if I had told you before Monday, Nikki Bella would outperform Shawn Michaels,
Yep,
Hulk Hogan,
yep,
John Cena,
yep.
and Ric Flair, what drug would you have thought I was on, and would you have insisted that I book myself into rehab?
Either you're feeling that you want the WWE to die in business, or you're on some good drugs. That's all I can say.
Yeah, like, and that's the truth. Nikki Bella outperformed all four of those guys in the opening segment. That was terrible.
Mm.
Like
It was so phony.
Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan. If people forget, they don't really like each other, and I thought that came through loud and clear in that segment.
All three of the guys don't like each other, besides Shawn and Flair being close.
Well, Shawn and Flair like each
Yeah.
other, but neither one of them has much time for Hogan. And John Cena came out, and I thought cut one of the worst promos I have ever seen him cut. I thought it was so just like nothing. It's like I'm not only gonna beat Brock Lesnar, I'm not gonna beat Brock Lesnar, I'm gonna beat his ass. Okay, John, I'm rushing out to buy the pay-per-view now. Like now
But
that you've told me you're gonna beat his ass. Oh, and then later in the show, let's have John Cena bury Bray Wyatt as
no,
well.
don't do the bearing thing, though. Come on.
Well,
If he's
Bray
on
didn't
the
look
show,
all
he's
that
not
great
being
coming out of that
buried.
segment,
Hey,
that match.
I can't say the guy was buried. I mean, okay, he wasn't put in a good position. It wasn't a good pairing of guys going against Cena for whatever reason. But he did not tap out during the six-man tag team match. I think he got protected with the whole DQ thing. I guess it made sense with the light guys out there to protect their main guy. And yeah, I just thought it was the wrong pairing for Cena to take on Bray Wyatt of all people. But you're a heel. I mean, it doesn't matter if you win or lose.
Yeah, but you have to look like some sort of a threat, and he clearly doesn't. And it looks like they've dropped his program with Chris Jericho. I'm fairly concerned for Bray Wyatt, and what makes this the most concerning is this whole segment, from reports that are online, Vince McMahon booked it all.
Yeah,
This was all Vince.
I heard Vince was like 100% complete control of Raw. I mean, Triple H and Stephanie were even on the show, and I'm like, it's weird. I think
Yeah,
I think Vince is trying to make it like one last push of, okay, this is what we're gonna do. If I can't get it right, I'm out.
I don't know, but I don't think it was the whole show. But all the Xena stuff was all Vince.
Well, you should be surprised by that now. Come
No,
on.
I mean Vince has always been like even when Vince has been in charge on his own, Vince has always been only concerned with the top guys.
Yeah.
Like there's about 4 or 5 guys that Vince cares about, and the rest of it kind of gets left for other people to figure out. And Vince isn't really all that concerned with it, and that comes from like various people that have worked on the creative team over the years. That's always been the thing. It used to be like in the Attitude Era. It used to be what was Austin doing, what was Undertaker doing,
Yeah.
what was The Rock doing, what was Triple H doing, and then there was usually like a fifth guy that would float in and out. Mick Foley most of the time, but sometimes other people. But generally speaking, that was Vince's world. After that, he really wasn't that concerned, and that's how, quite frankly, that's how acts like the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian and those guys were able to get over because Vince really wasn't paying much attention to that, and they went out and had some crazy matches.
Yeah, it's like, okay, what's John doing? what's Randy doing, what's Roman Reigns doing, and then
Yeah.
that's it.
The Shield. I think the Shield is in that group now.
Or the Authority.
Yeah, well, the Authority, I think they book themselves. I'm pretty sure they have that power at
Well,
this
good thing
point.
they're not overcrowded like the NWO.
Not yet. Although watching the WWE Network, the rise of the NWO, and watch the numbers grow as you laugh when you see Virgil as Vincent, and you see Japanese guys who I have no idea who they were. I was like, wow, that just got out of hand really quickly.
They took the rest of the members from Kai and Tai on there.
I don't know.
You know,
That was crazy.
You know what I found funny while watching these Monday Night War shows is that, okay, when Kevin Nash and Scott Hall went to WCW, the whole time, it kind of makes sense, though, that, okay, WCW got all this fame and attention now with the whole NWO starting, but it was all due to the guys that were in the WWE. So it wasn't like it was all Eric Bischoff. It was already guys that had the experience and then doing things they wanted to do in WCW.
I thought the funniest story that came out of that was when WWE was talking about bringing back Razor Ramon and Diesel, how WCW thought they got worked, and they were going to Kevin Nash and Scott Hall.
Are you serious?
What do you want? You lied to us. You're still working for him. Here's a new contract. Kevin Nash, where I sign? And then they get duped and realize it was a fake Razor and Diesel, and literally a wrestling company got worked by itself. I think that's tremendous. That explains why WCW failed in one quick little story. There it is. That was your management at WCW at their finest. Kevin Nash, Scott Hall got a raise for a hoax that the WWE was pulling.
Yeah, you know, it tells you how long Kane's been in the WWE as well.
That's right, he was fake Diesel. My God. Have you seen that new cartoon that they put up on the WWE Network?
No, I haven't actually.
Oh, it's called, what is it called? I can't remember the name of it, but it just went up today, and it's like the WWE making fun of itself, and Daniel Bryan's in the ring, and Stephanie, all cartoons remind you, and Stephanie is saying, now you'll have to face Malibu Kane, and then they go to something else, and you come back, Safari Canes. And I'm just like, oh my God, please don't let them really do these gimmicks. Like apparently the WWE knows that they totally screwed over Kane and they're okay with it.
I kind of wish they never like bring up the characters from Slam City either.
Well, this isn't Slam City. This is a different one. It's a cartoon still, but it's a different one from Slam City. This is more like Slam City is kind of like claymation. These are actually like cartoons.
Yeah, I heard the Shock Undertaker guys in that thing, right?
I don't know. I didn't watch the whole thing because like the video kicked out on me at the very end, so I don't know.
I found an interesting thing with Brock Lesnar. It said that he was being advertised for a SmackDown show prior to Hell in a Cell.
Brock Lesnar doing SmackDown?
October 21st.
What's next? He does a house show? My God! The world is going insane. What's going on? Actually, the WWE had to pull back on, speaking of them and their announcements for shows. They had listed both Wade Barrett, Mr. Bad News Barrett, and Daniel Bryan as being on shows in Europe, and then they pulled that back. So that was interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I wonder what they're going to do with all the other guys on the roster, of course, with the fall coming up. I mean, looking at SmackDown, which airs tomorrow, there's no in-ring segments. They're all matches.
Well, yeah, SmackDown is what, if you want to watch wrestling, SmackDown is the show for you because everything on Raw is segments. Like, a few times over on Between the Ropes, Michael Wiseman does a segment where he does Raw Reaction, and he breaks it up where it's segment, matches, and kind of like other. And I've filled in for him a bunch of times doing it. And I'm writing the segment stuff, and I'm like, I'm not even close to done here. There's like 3 more to go. Like, and then the matches is just like, yeah, here's the matches. This is what happened. Blah blah blah. Like, I have no passion for the matches at all because they're so insignificant.
Well, there was 3 in-ring segments and 10 matches from Raw this past week. And,
No, there was more than that. There was.
Well, if you're counting the backstage segments and stuff.
We had Brie and her sister with the King.
Yeah, that was one.
The King got called an old man, which was fantastic.
Yes.
We had the funeral segment.
Yeah, that's.
We had the death segment at the beginning of the show.
Mm-hmm.
There was another one too, and I'm trying to think of it. I can't remember what it was. It might have been a backstage thing. So I count backstages too, so I don't know. But anyway, it seemed like there was a lot of segments this week, and none of them were good. That's the thing. They all kind of sucked except for Nikki Bella.
In their own way.
Like, save this tape. This might be the first and last week I ever put over Nikki Bella. Because I've never been a Nikki Bella fan. I really haven't. I find the girl... everything about Nikki Bella annoys me in a female. She is just that annoying female that I want no part of. Looks great, whatever. She's so annoying, the looks don't matter to me.
It's an interesting dynamic. I mean, she got more charisma than her sister does in her whole anorexic body. And then Bray Wyatt got more charisma than his dad had in his 30-year career.
Yeah, well, Bo too. I mean, Bo Dallas. He believes, and he believes that Jack Swagger has let down America, and I am with Bo on this. He's right.
So did JBL.
Jack Swagger did let down America, and apparently he has no Zeb Coulter now, which is bad news for Jack Swagger. It's not looking good for Jack Swagger. Let's be blunt about it. Jack is he's on hard times.
Yeah, that poor guy can't catch a break for anything.
And I tried to make it brighter in here. Now it's like overly bright. I look like a ghost. We'll go back to the dark me for the sake of things. Thankfully, we only have 10 minutes left in the show.
Ghostbusters.
We'll get our light situation more figurative when the summer goes away, because when this show starts, I have complete sunlight. I face like where the sun sets, my condo apartment, and by the time the show's over, it's completely dark. So it's a little challenging for lighting at the time that we do this show. But we're here.
Well, covering NXT tonight, general manager being announced.
Yes, and if you've read the spoilers, you know who it is. And I totally approve of this. Let's just put that out there. I think this will be a great thing for NXT.
We got TakeOver, not next week, but the week after
Couple weeks. Interesting date for that show. I don't know if I would have done it on that date. But
I saw that.
Yeah, it's September the 11th is the date of the show, by the way. If you know your history, some things happened on that day that might not make it the greatest idea to have a show, but maybe we've moved on. Maybe this is the WWE saying it's been 12 years, it's time to move on. I don't know.
You know, it's kind of weird. That was my first day of first grade.
Wow, you just made me feel really old, Josh. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. It's funny, God, this has nothing to do with wrestling, but I feel obligated to tell the story now. I had a girlfriend at the time, and she had a child who wasn't mine, but that really is neither here nor there. But anyway, she, in the morning, that morning, is trying to get cartoons on for her child, and just kept clicking and getting the same thing and just kept clicking until she got cartoons. That is how worldly my ex-girlfriend was. She was not concerned, at least initially, that the world was under attack, or at least America. That was not in her wheelhouse. Although once she figured out what was going on, she thought the world was coming to an end. So she had two very high extremes.
So
Anyway,
that's kind of weird though. That the United States were able to get all the channels from Canada to show uh, that whole attacks and stuff. That's weird.
yeah, we ended up with like tons of people stranded here in Canada. It was quite what it was. I live near an airport. It was eerie. Like, to be around an airport and not hear a plane is just strange, and we had that for like a week. But anyway, we were moving on to NXT, and probably we shouldn't be talking too much more about the subject we are, because we are not a news show. We're just a wrestling show.
We're not CNN.
Yeah, we're not CNN.
And we're not ESPN trying to figure out what dudes are showering with Michael Sam.
No, Wolf Blitzer will not be on this program, nor will
or
Skip
Geraldo
Bayless.
Rivera.
No, Geraldo isn't on either. Although he did appear at a WrestleMania, didn't he?
Yeah, I forgot.
Anyway, NXT, and we'll do this quickly, and this will tie up the show and finish it up. One of the things that's going to be in question with NXT, we already know we're getting Bayley and Charlotte for the NXT Women's title. Rumors abound that Charlotte is going to get called up to the main roster.
Yeah.
Main reason being, they don't know what to do with her dad. And that has been painfully clear on the last few episodes of Raw.
Mm-hmm.
He's hanging out with Dolph Ziggler, and he's telling Randy Orton he kind of sucks. Then he's out there with Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels. Why don't they just make Ric Flair like the acting commissioner of Raw or something like that?
I was just about to say that.
I mean, that would be a role. Like, I have an interesting storyline with that, because the Authority, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have Triple H, who I think everyone's well aware idolizes Ric Flair, has been very vocal about it, like in character, out of character. That is his guy. And Stephanie, not so much. So if you made Ric Flair the acting, like, Raw GM or commissioner or whatever you want to call it, if he started screwing up, Triple H and Stephanie would have a very interesting dynamic with that, because Stephanie would definitely want to fire him, and Hunter wouldn't. And I think that would cause a nice little rift in the Authority storyline, and it'd be interesting. But that's not what they're going with. They're just going to stick Rick in Charlotte's corner, and I actually think for Charlotte that won't be a bad thing. I think, it'll help her get over more. Not to say she couldn't do it on her own, because I think she can. But, given some of the NXT debuts we've seen in the last year, I wouldn't be opposed to having my dad in my corner. I think it would actually help.
Yeah, I find it cool, actually. I mean, you could go either routes. I think it'd be a good dynamic for Raw to have Rick being like a GM. You could do cool backstage segments with him, and I think it would make the show flow a little bit better, because the fans are not drawn out from a long 19-minute Triple H.
Don't you
promo.
dare! I like those. Those are good.
No, I like them. I had to,
$9.99 over.
I had to pull the Mick Foley on that one.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, this NXT show, it does look like it's going to be very good. We won't spoil the match. We'll just leave it at this. Triple H made it clear all the titles are going to be defended. Adrian Neville, is he still the NXT champion coming out of this event? I don't think he is.
No, I kind of think right now it might go to Tyson Kidd, to be honest with you. It could be either him or Sami Zayn.
Yeah, and on the podcast, by the way, we spoiled this entire card. We've actually aired it a couple weeks ago, but we're not on the video podcast. We're keeping kayfabe here. But that said, with this show, all three of those guys are there now. We've
Yeah.
got Devitt, we've got Steen, and it looks like Devitt and Steen are going to work together. They're at least floating that out there.
Or teasing, yeah.
Yeah, like we've seen picture of Steen with Devitt, and they're at least giving that idea. Are we going to see any of the three, Devitt, Steen, or Kenta, on this show?
I think maybe one of them will come in and do a run-in and attack one of the stars during the show after their match is over, but I wouldn't expect anything out of all three guys on that show.
Because there was talk that they were going to be a faction, all three together.
I mean, they could do that to bring some intrigue to the next special, but I don't see it right now, actually.
I have one thought, too. One thing I noticed about that picture with Devitt and with Steen,
Mm-hmm.
and if they're leaking it and if they're doing it, I'm sure everything about that picture was orchestrated. Did you notice who was in the background of that picture?
Yeah, there was Triple H with the Payback poster that was in Chicago this year, actually.
Which makes me wonder, are they going to be kind of the authority thugs on NXT?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, there's always an authority resemblance on every show for the WWE.
It's kind of weird, though, because Triple H doesn't bring that authority character with him when he comes to NXT. He's very much a babyface when he's there, so
Yeah.
I don't know what that all means, but it probably means nothing, and I'm probably reading way too much into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed right away that Triple H was in the background of that picture, and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Do you kind of like scratch your head or your eyes roll when you see the fact that Triple H acts so goody good shoes when he's there at NXT? Or it's just like, okay, this is the guy, this is the Vince McMahon of NXT, so it's like, okay, whatever he does.
No, I think in NXT, I view it this way. We see Paul Levesque.
Mm-hmm.
On Raw, we see Triple H. And what I mean by that is simply, that's the real Triple H you see at NXT. He's so proud of that developmental system and the performance center and all of that. And he can't help but he can't hide it. Like, that's his baby, and I think deservedly so. He's done a tremendous job rehabbing the developmental system, which was a mess. I
Yeah.
mean, it was horrible. Johnny Ace had left that thing just a red-hot mess. I mean, he'd hired a bunch of hot-looking girls that Johnny liked to look at and really didn't do a good job when it came to finding actual wrestlers.
I heard
And-
that was a Kevin Dunn decision, actually.
Well, that
he
probably
wanted JR out of the whole role and everything, and wanted to bring in more of the corporate side. So
yeah, but whoever's decision was, like, clearly Johnny didn't know what he was doing, and I think that was made painfully clear by CM Punk in his various promos
yeah.
when he came back and did the whole he was leaving, then he came back story. He has no love for John Laurinaitis, clearly.
Well, he wasn't that bad on television, actually. I mean, the stuff he was doing as the GM of Raw was probably the best stuff he ever did in his career.
Oh no, on camera, I thought it was great. But behind the scenes, there's not a lot of people that have many nice things to say about Johnny Ace,
Yeah.
including Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman, not a fan of Johnny Ace. Anyway, we are about a minute over time, but we thank you for tuning into the show. If you're watching it late, remember, we're on here live every Thursday. If you come here live, you want to ask some questions, we're more than happy to let you be a part of this show. If not, we also are fully capable of yammering on ourselves.
Yes.
But we welcome you to be part of our conversation. So 7:30 live Eastern Standard Time every Thursday. That's when this show is broadcast on Google Hangout. Come join us. Come have some fun. If you're watching post facto, which I'm sure most of you are. But that said, he's Josh Lopez. I'm James Borbath. We got a podcast tomorrow with Chris Walder. We might have a guest. We might not. We don't know. Tune in. Find out. Friday night, we'll have the podcast up for you on CondoOnTheMoon.com.
The hills have eyes.
Oh wow, yeah. That's some joke that
Vince Russo,
Russo
yeah.
played on poor Chris Walder. I don't even understand that because I don't know the reference. But anyway, Walder does like Russo though. I have problems with that, but we don't get into it much on the podcast. Anyway, we're going to ROH together, so we're trying to get along till then. So take care, everybody, and be good to somebody. That was like the Jerry Springer line, right?
Yeah.
Be good to someone. So take care, folks.